So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about fractions. And the first thing that I always say when I talk to students about fractions is to think about this sentence. Fractions are fair. So I want you to keep that in mind while we're thinking about naming things with fractions. So that word fraction, it just means a part of a whole. So part of something. So I brought some examples up here to show you, to ask you about what you think. So if Mr. Bennett and I were going to try to share a little orange, and I decided to cut the orange into two pieces. I'm going to show you two pieces that I cut the orange into. So here's my orange, and I cut it into these pieces. There's one piece. And there's the other piece. I was thinking maybe I could have this piece and Mr. Bennett could have that piece. So would you say that I was splitting up that orange in a fair way? No, I agree with you. It's totally not fair. Why isn't it fair? Yeah, because look at those two pieces. I'm getting a big chunk and he's getting a little skinny chunk. So it's totally not fair. So I can't use a fraction to name these two parts. But let me show you if I cut the orange a different way. Okay. There's another orange that I cut. And look. Yeah. Would you say that's more fair? And why is it more fair? Yeah, because we're each getting the same size part of the original whole orange. So, since it's fair, we could use a fraction to name each of these parts, each of these pieces. So, I'm going to write a fraction, and it's going to be a fraction that you heard before because we say this all the time. This is the fraction 1/2. And let's talk about what that means when I write it like this. So this bottom number is telling me how many pieces there are in the whole. So look, my whole orange is cut into two pieces. Right. So then the top number is telling me how many of the pieces I'm talking about or how many I'm looking at. So right here, this is one of the halves, and we don't say twos or tooths. Tooths would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? We don't use that word, the word two, the number two. We don't use that two. We say half. So we say it's 1/2. And here's another 1/2. So I put a 1 up here and a 2 down here. If I was looking at both of them together, put back together, I think I have to turn around this way to make them fit right. If I put them back together again like this, I'm looking at one whole thing. How many halves is that? 2, exactly right. So just for later on, you might want to know that 2 halves equal 1 whole. So we break things in half and split things in half all the time, don't we? And we know that when we want to break something in half, we want it to be fair. So each person is getting the same size or the same amount. Let's look at something else here. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to wipe off my orange juice. There we go. So keep in mind, fractions are fair. What if I had some pretzels and I said to you, you may share these pretzels with your little brother or sister, with one other person. I want you to share these, and I want you to be fair. I want you to share those pretzels with somebody else. How would you do it? Just say it out loud to me. How many would each person get? Yeah, good. So you would get 2 of the pretzels, and the other person would get 2 of the pretzels, right? So our whole group was 4, and then we split them into half. Yeah, we split it into half of the pretzels and half of the pretzels. So one person got 2, and the other person got 2. So that tells us something. We know that 2 is half of 4, right? So 1/2 of those pretzels is 2 for each person. Good. What about if you wanted to, I'm going to go back to my orange again. What about if I had the orange and you wanted to share the orange between yourself and 3 friends? So there were 4 of you that were going to eat the orange. I'm going to draw your little faces here. There's one person. There's 2 people. Ooh, that was a crooked face. There's 3rd person and a 4th person. So there are 4 little people there, right? Okay, so you're going to share 1 orange. That's going to be tricky. So what should we do to make the orange, to share an orange? How many pieces should I cut it into? Yeah, I should cut it into 4. And what would you tell me if you had to give me some directions? What would you tell me when I was cutting the oranges into 4 pieces? Yeah, that I should cut them into the same size, right? I should cut them into 4 equal parts. Ooh. So I cut them into 4 equal parts. So each person is getting 1 part of the orange. So if I gave 4 fair pieces to the 4 people, myself and 3 other people, then I have made fractional parts of that orange. And let's see how I would name one of those pieces. So I'm going to draw the line for the fraction. So how many pieces were in that whole thing? 4, right? And how many am I looking at right now? 1. So I say that 1/4 with a TH. 1/4. So that's 1/4, that's 1/4, that's 1/4, and that's 1/4. And I'm able to call them fourths because they're fair and even, fair share pieces. Everybody got the same amount. So I say fractions are fair. Just like when we split up the pretzels. If I were doing pretzels and I had 4 pretzels, and I gave 1 to each person, so here's my collection of pretzels. That's my whole group of pretzels, 4. And I'm going to give each person 1/4 of my whole pile of pretzels. Yep, each person would get 1 pretzel. That seems fair, so each person got 1/4 of my collection of pretzels. A fourth, a fourth, a fourth, and a fourth. And that all thing together adds up to be 1 group of pretzels. 1 group of 4 pretzels. Good work. So now, what I want you to do is try to make some fair fractions. So, get yourself something that you could have for snack, or draw yourself a picture of a circle, like a picture of a pie or of a pizza, or make yourself a rectangle shape and see if you can cut it into 2 fair pieces. So cut it in half. See if you can cut that in half. And then after you've practiced with making fair halves, see if you can make a fair 1/4. So you're going to cut something into 4 parts. And you don't have to actually cut it with scissors. If you're using paper, you can draw it. See if you can draw a picture of a fair. So take your circle and see if you can draw where you would cut it to be fair. That's 1/2 and 1/2. And if I wanted to cut it into fourths that were fair, I would draw a line across there. So I had 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Good. All right, so do a little practice and see what you can do. See you next time.